What do you think, like, the first glimpse of you as like an alcoholic and an addict really kind of came into your mind that was a possible path?
Oh, I associate it with, when I go back in time, this compulsive, addictive drive. And whether it was me doing odd jobs, mowing lawns, whatever, working in restaurants, dishwashing, I was obsessed with the idea of the destination or the goal. What's the goal? And once you win enough, like score enough points and beat enough teams, you go to the Super Bowl. So for me, I was obsessed with the idea of getting a bicycle so I could ride here to do work on the farm, to do this, to make money, to buy a guitar, to get on a bus, to go to Los Angeles, to learn how to write and play and form the most dangerous band in the world. Like, that's all. I could go all the way back and go, I was obsessed.
And obsession, right?
That's addictive behavior.
Exactly. Obsession and compulsion, if it's positive or negative, is totally what drives us. When I had lost my family, I became obsessed with getting them back. And I actually started going to AA just to deal with the obsession of not having my family, to have an obsession be lifted through a spiritual practice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do.
One of my favorite stories in this first 21 is when you start selling mescaline and you add chocolate to it. Can you please tell that story for the Dopey Nation? Because they're going to love that.
I am a marketing genius.
You are, for sure.
Well, it wasn't like I was, this is my way of having a cool product, so to speak, but
we're going to add chocolate to mescaline. That's going to be the wave of the future.
You mixed it together and put it in these little capsules, and then you sold it as chocolate mescaline to other kids your age. I mean, it just sounds like a good time to me. Give me some chocolate mescaline. It's not like LSD, but so stupid, right? So stupid.
I love it. And your mother you describe as this very beautiful hippie. And when Mötley Crüe kind of came in, I got the sense that like there was nothing worse than hippies or new wave people. Do you think kind of like, did you hate hippies going in because like you were just pissed? Like, what's your relationship to hippie culture? I want to hear about that.
I'm not too ingrained in it. I respect it for a lot of reasons. It was an important time in the 60s, the Vietnam War, and what was going on politically. And people to grow their hair and stand up for themselves, have a different snapshot of what they want their life to look like. They don't want to be Ozzy and Harriet. I really appreciate that. Some really great music came out of that, obviously. And some of that music that had some of that heartbeat then linked over to the 70s, which is my favorite era of any era. But I have a lot of respect for that. But it was never really a big influence to me. There's not really any 60s bands I can think of that I listen to and go, I want to really emulate that, or I want to play bass like that. It was more like the late 60s and then the 70s where it was go time for me.
That muscly rock and roll bass, absolutely. The heavy stuff. When was the first time you did coke?
God, I can't remember. I think it was probably at the Starwood backstage where David Forrest worked, and there was always like a lot of celebrities back there. And I was kind of me and Lizzie, who was a guitar player in London, and Dane Rage, who was the drummer. We were like, the three of us were just always tied together. And I remember always being told, take some rum and coke back to them. John Holmes is back there, Todd Rundgren's back there, so-and-so's back there. And I was just some kid with a weird haircut that they just, needed me to go do stuff. I was a janitor during the day there with Lizzie and Dane. I think at some point right around then that I got a little taste of that.
And you were like, wow, this was it, did it set off rockets in your head like when you did Coke, or did it not?
Not really. You know, alcohol for me was my favorite because, you know, we just drink and get rowdy and do stupid shit. Coke, for some reason, you could go longer with Coke drinking, which of course is the downfall. So, you know, you give it an alcoholic cocaine, they're just going to drink twice as much for twice as many days in a row.
So alcohol was the first love. And then when was the first time you tried heroin?
Oh, God. Heroin. I think like living in an apartment off of Coldwater Canyon. There were some people in other bands, and somebody came around from San Diego and said, hey, I got some, it was some Persian heroin. And I just thought, wow, Keith Richards, like Miles Davis, like, what do they know that I don't know? You know, it's like, so yeah, I tried it. And I remember going, this is the worst experience ever. Like, threw up all over the place and laid there on my back, hyperventilating. And, you know, leave it to an addict. They're like, that was fun. Let's do it again until you're strung out and almost and die. You know, it's just crazy. I like to be part of, I'm not your mom. I'm not your fucking dad. I'm just here to tell you and show you what happened with me. I didn't take care of shit, so shit caught up. And I'm going to show you through my writing and interviews and stuff at times. I don't want to be known as this is just my only job. But I'm going to show you what happens when you take it too far. And then you get to make your own decision. You know, I'm not here to write anybody. I'm never on social media putting people down with addiction or something. It's a struggle. It's hard. And me and you are really lucky. We got out. So all I try to do is just share my story. And, you know, it's funny. You know, sometimes I'll see stuff. I don't read a lot of comments or stuff. Half the time I don't even know my passwords to get on stuff. So even though I'm kind of I am a little bit of an addict with Instagram because I love photography so much. So I'll like
your shit is
constantly
great.
Posting photos and stuff. Maybe it's an overshare. Who knows? Maybe it's something I got to work on. But, you know, I see every now and then, when's this guy going to stop talking about heroin? When's this guy going to stop? I love this one, cashing in on heroin. Like, okay, I am trying to spread the message of what it looks like and what it could look like for you and what it did look like for me. That's it. Peace out. Make your own decisions. So I'll probably always have, you know, a little bit of chatter about it. And you know, probably be fucking 80 years old, dude, and someone's going to ask me about it. And maybe some 20-year-old reads this weird old pirate interview and goes, wow, I was going to try drugs, and that made me not do it.